And today's podcast, I want to share some tools and tricks and secrets from my change management consulting days. Maybe it'll be something you can use right now. Welcome to the Intentional Success Podcast, where we unpack the top strategies, explore business trends, and drill down into best practices to help your live events production business grow and scale on purpose. I'm your host, Tom Stimson. All right, I think this is going to be fun. In the before times, which is what I call pre-pandemic, and for the 10, 12, 13 years that I was consulting in that period up to 2019, most of the work I did was change management work. I was a very classic business consultant. Owners would call and say, hey, we have a challenge. I don't think I have the right people in the right places. We had a lot of the bus conversation. You get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, put them in the right seats, blah, 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 blah. Classic Jim Collins. And the process was, very simple for me. I mean, I'd come in and I'd do an assessment of the business, follow an order through the system, meet all the people, and understand what kind of change management project it was going to be. And then I would visit with the owner and explain to him. So, is this a leadership issue, communication issue? Is this process? Do we have clear process owners to lead, communicate? Do we have task owners, or all those things there? What is that overarching issue? So we identified the overarching issue. For instance, I had one client who says, hey, we do a lot of work. We've always been super profitable, but suddenly, and it was very suddenly, they're not. And he suddenly, after being in business for 30 years, was in a cash flow crunch. And, what could I do to help? Can I figure out what the problem was? And we did. So there were sub issues and symptoms in there, but when you're having a cash flow crisis, and you're a $20, $30 million company, that's a big deal. You can't survive that for very long. So I went in, spoke to all the process owners. I developed some working theories. Some of them were pretty simple, like, hey, you overbuy on travel, you undersell travel and you overbuy. And so your travel costs were $4 million and your travel sales was $2 million. Maybe that's part of the problem, right? Sometimes it's real easy to connect the dots, but how did that situation come to occur? And that's where the change management process really comes in. So it's one thing to tell people, hey, here's Occam's razor, here's the thing that you're doing that's causing the problem you're having. But how do you quickly undo that or fix that or correct for that? That's often much more complicated. So we draft a new process, have a few discussions about it. We gather all the process owners. The challenge in this particular company is that for a company that had, 80 employees, they had like 24 people on the management team because everybody was a manager. So it was a very difficult conversation to try and get 24 people sorted out. Because they all had the what's in it for me, right? How's this going to affect them? They all touched different parts of the process, so it was very convoluted. And the owner quickly realized that, okay, I need a smaller management team. I said, yes, I was going to suggest that. And once we get that sorted out, then we make that general announcement to the company saying, hey, we're going to change some processes. Here is the person responsible for this area that we're working on. We take their questions and we start working through it. Now, that's all pretty straightforward. This is pretty classic stuff. It's just project management. But here's the fun part that I want to share with you. I had a tool that I used, and I would share this with owners about personnel. And I'm not the person that you hire to come in and say, hey, fire people for me. I don't do that. I was the person who says, hey, you need to understand who you have and how they're part of the solution or part of the problem, and make some choices about that. So I developed this little matrix, and just think of a little, it's a 2x2, the classic consulting 2x2 matrix. And on the left-hand side, we have what I call performance behavior. So high-performing individuals were in the top left and low-performing individuals were in the bottom left. Now, low-performing doesn't mean that you're not doing enough work. It means that your work is not that good. High performing means your work is good, but you're also probably highly productive as well, which is another quality of performance behavior. So high and low performance behavior. And then values congruent behavior. In other words, do you work and play well with others? And, the people who are hard to get along with are on that bottom left, and the people who are on the left-hand side, and the people who are easy to get along with are on the right-hand side of the matrix. So performance behavior, top and bottom, values behavior, left and right. Great. Now, what are these four quadrants called? Well, the bottom left, which is low performing and not values or hard to get along with, I called incompetent assholes. I met a lot of incompetent assholes when I was doing consulting work. And I can laugh about it now because it was, it's part of what happens. We go back and laugh at ourselves, but this is an actual tool I use because for many companies, this is the language that they speak. Now I would modify it, obviously, but people who didn't appreciate my type of acerbic humor, and we can soften that. But incompetent assholes is usually where I started, and we all know incompetent assholes. So it was very easy to relate to. Now, above them, the high performing, we had competent assholes, which is something that is surprisingly prevalent in our industry. They are difficult to get along with, but they're very high performing. I'm sure you're thinking of somebody in your organization right now. They're very competent, but they're just a bit of a jerk. Now, the bottom right quadrant were the incompetent nice guys. We like them. Everybody likes them. They're easy to get along with. They're not that good. We're careful about where we place them, blah, 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 blah. They're not very good at anything, but we all like them, right? So the incompetent nice guys. And then the top right, I broke it down. I put a diagonal through here. I have the outstanding nice guys, which is the top right-hand corner of that quadrant. And then I have the competent nice guys. And obviously, we want a lot of people who are competent and outstanding. We want a little bit of both. But outstanding people can overwhelm a business if we have too many of them in the wrong places. But nobody needs incompetent assholes. So now, what do we do with this information, right? The bottom left-hand quadrant, the incompetent assholes, I have a very simple note here. It says, fire these people fast. Okay, you will not miss them. Nobody's going to complain. There's going to be no rebellion. Most people are going to breathe a sigh of relief. Whew, thank goodness that person's finally gone. And I didn't go with them. That's the other thing that I wasn't grouped in that area. Competent assholes, we also have to make a choice. We have to make a remediate or separate choice. Remediate is, can I tamp down their hard to get along with? Can I coach them into, working and playing well with others a little bit better? Or can I separate them and put them into a silo? And I know we don't like silos, but sometimes silos are where we need to put people. That's how we separate them. We find a role that they can be siloed in. Well, not everybody can be siloed. Okay. So separate can also mean we let them go. But if we silo them first or remediate them, one of two things will happen. The remediation won't take. They find that they can't survive being nice to people. That's not what they want. They're going to go find a job where they can be who they are. And great, wish them well, send them on their way. Chances are you will be better off without them. Often they find out they just didn't realize how difficult they were and their job was too big and it's puts a lot of stress on them. So creating that separation, reducing the size of their job and the number of things they're responsible for makes them easier to get along with. And so that solves that problem as well. My point is, it needs attention. How can we give it some attention? Now, the bottom right-hand corner, the incompetent nice guys. Well, they're incompetent. In other words, they're not very good at their job. Maybe incompetent is too harsh a word. There's just people who are always going to be better than them. I need to manage these people or I need to move them. I need to move them into a role where they can be highly successful, okay, that they can be better than acceptable, right? They may be something that they're particularly good at, or I need to move them on. So if I can't manage them into a higher rate of competency, then I might need to move on from them. Now, very often, these people are the sacred cows. These are the people that we can't fire. They're somebody's relative. They helped found the company. They were the college roommate of the owner. And there's really nothing egregious that they've done that would warrant firing them. But what we can do is find their highest and best use and put them into a job where, because the owner or management trusts them, that requires a high level of trust, or there's a certain level of detail that they're very good at, or there's it's just something that they can succeed at, and we just need to narrow their job as well. So the top left-hand corner and the bottom right-hand corner, we're trying to narrow their jobs where their difficulty to get along with affects fewer people, or their lack of broad competence affects fewer people, and put them in places where they can succeed. Now, top right-hand corner. Hopefully this is more than half of your company, right? The competent nice guys, outstanding nice guys. This is the quadrant that we praise and raise, right? We praise them for their work. Some people like to be praised in public. Some people like to be praised in private. Hopefully, as management, you know the difference and know when to do that. Everybody likes a raise. I would say 90% of people like a raise. I have run to a few people who thought they'd rather have something besides a raise, and that's worth having a conversation about. Changing their role, more time off, things like that. But praise and raise is where we want to put our energy for those people. So take a look at your team. Take this tool, mock this up somewhere, and see how you can do your own change management. Can you make those competent assholes fit better into your business? Can you get the incompetent nice guys to become more valuable, and have fewer people disregard them just because they're nice people who can't get fired? Can we get rid of the incompetent assholes faster? I have a saying, learn to hire fast and fire faster. You need to know what you're looking for. You need to be able to read people right away, decide who's worth giving a try, hire them, give them a 90-day agreement. So for the next 90 days, I'm going to talk to you at 30, 60, and 90 days. Okay. At 30 days, I'm going to give you a performance review, and you and I are going to decide whether you're going to keep working for another 60 days. At 60 days, I'm going to give you another performance review. You and I decide whether you keep working for another 60 days. At 90 days, if you feel like you shouldn't have taken this job, or I feel like I shouldn't have hired you, I will let you know, and I will fire you at that point. I will lay you off. I'll let you go. That's our deal. I'll give you 90 days to make sure we're a good fit. But if at any time before then we find that we're not a good fit, we're going to cut ties, shake hands, and move on down the road. Now, you've got a lot of incompetent assholes who have not been fired over the years, and it makes everybody else angry, makes them frustrated, keeps them from succeeding in their jobs. Sometimes the best thing you can do is get rid of those people. Here's a way to figure them out. High performing, low performing, easy to get along with, hard to get along with. Figure it out. If you need some help, I can still do change management. Happy to talk to you. All right. I hope that was fun for you. It was fun for me. Thanks for listening. If you want to find out more about today's episode, go to trstimson.com/podcast, where you'll find the show notes, related links, and tons of other valuable resources. If you haven't already subscribed to the Intentional Success Podcast, please do so, and I'd greatly appreciate if you would rate and review the show. Also, if you think you might be a good fit to work together or want more information about the Stimson Group, I'd love to hear from you. Visit trstimson.com for more information.